The air in Savannah was heavy that morning, thick with humidity and old grief. Spanish moss hung low from the oak trees like tattered curtains, and the Miller estate, a sprawling, once-grand plantation house at the edge of town, wore the years like bruises. Anna Miller tightened her grip on the steering wheel as the gates creaked open. She hadn't been back in nearly 10 years, not since the scandal that had driven her away. Back then, she swore she'd never return. But death has a way of dragging you home. The funeral was already in motion. Rows of black suits and blacker expressions lined the pews of the family chapel, built by her grandfather's grandfather. As she stepped inside, eyes turned. Some widened. Others narrowed. She ignored them. Her grandfather, James Big Jim Miller, lay at the front, a waxen figure in a cedar coffin, the flag of old Southern pride draped loosely over his legs. Anna slid into the back pew, her heartbeat thudding in her ears. There was no eulogy, only silence and the shuffling of feet. When the service ended, the lawyer, Mr. Preston, approached the family quietly. "The reading will be at the house," he said. It was tradition. But when the family gathered an hour later in the Miller Library, a cavernous room lined with ancient books and stern portraits, Mr. Preston looked troubled. He cleared his throat. "I regret to inform you," he began, "that the last will and testament of James Miller is missing." Gasps. Murmurs. A cough in the corner. Margaret Miller, Anna's aunt, stepped forward, her pearls gleaming against her black dress. "What do you mean, missing?" Preston wiped his brow. "It's gone. His safe was empty." I'm sorry." The silence that followed was deafening. Anna sat frozen. She knew her grandfather was meticulous. If he wanted something found, it would be found. If he wanted something lost, it would stay lost. Margaret's eyes swept the room, landing briefly on Anna before moving on. "Well," Margaret said, voice razor-sharp, "then there's nothing to discuss. The estate remains divided as previously documented." Preston hesitated. "Mrs. Miller, the previous will was revoked." Margaret's face twitched. Just slightly. But Anna saw it. She felt it. Something wasn't right. That evening, the house seemed even bigger and emptier. Guests trickled out, leaving the family behind in a haze of perfume and whispered threats. Anna wandered, finding herself drawn toward the study. The door was closed. She tried the handle. Unlocked. The study was exactly as she remembered. Mahogany shelves, a leather chair worn to the seams, a heavy desk covered in neat stacks of papers. But what caught her eye was something smaller. A folded letter, sealed with an old wax stamp, her grandfather's initials carved in crimson. It lay in the center of the desk. Waiting. Anna's hands trembled as she picked it up. Inside, the handwriting was precise. Familiar. Asterisk, if you're reading this, it means the vultures are already circling. Asterisk. Asterisk, they will lie. They will steal. But the truth is not lost. Only hidden. Look where the house first took root. Asterisk. Asterisk, trust only what the fire cannot destroy. Asterisk. Asterisk, the one who pretends to love you most, beware them. Asterisk. There was no signature. But it didn't need one. Anna folded the letter and tucked it into her jacket. Behind her, the floorboard creaked. She turned, heart in her throat. But no one was there. Only the echo of old sins, and the promise of new ones. Anna's eyes fell on a painting over the fireplace. The Miller estate as it stood in 1823, newly built and surrounded by nothing but wild, untamed land. The house first took root. Beneath the painting, a loose floorboard. Her breath caught. Tomorrow, she would pry it open. But tonight, she slept with the letter tucked under her pillow. Because the house wasn't just old. It was alive. The morning was still gray when Anna returned to the study, sneakers silent on the old floorboards. She hadn't slept much. The letter burned a hole in her mind all night. She closed the heavy door behind her and pulled out her grandfather's letter, rereading it under the weak beam of her phone's flashlight. Look where the house first took root. Her gaze shifted back to the painting. It was old, older than the house itself, maybe, but Anna noticed something now that she hadn't seen last night. In the bottom corner, almost hidden by the frame, there was a symbol, a small, carved tree, its roots exposed. Her fingers brushed the frame. Loose. With a gentle tug, the frame tilted forward, and with a soft pop, the hidden latch behind it clicked open. Anna stepped back as a portion of the wall shifted, revealing a narrow, dark passage behind the shelves. The air that rushed out was stale, heavy with dust and secrets. For a heartbeat, she hesitated. Then she grabbed her flashlight and stepped in. The passage was barely wide enough for one person. The wooden walls scraped her jacket as she moved, heart hammering in her chest. She followed the narrow tunnel downward, each step creaking under her weight. It felt endless, this descent into the belly of the house. At the bottom, the passage opened into a small, stone-walled room, a forgotten cellar. And at the center of the room, on a cracked pedestal, sat a weathered, leather-bound journal. Anna approached carefully. She wiped the dust off the cover, squinting at the faded initials. J.M. James Miller. Her grandfather's journal. She opened the first page. A handwritten note stared back at her. To the one who finds this, you are the last Miller I trust. The truth will cost you more than you know. But if you choose to reveal it, start with the ledger. Anna flipped further. Most of the journal was a meticulous record of the Miller family's holdings, properties, businesses, accounts. But toward the back, something different. A list. 1974. Margaret lied about the accident. 1981. Ethan falsified accounts. 1997. The vineyard deal, bribes paid. 2011. The first will altered. Anna's breath caught. There, at the bottom, circled in red ink. The heir is not who you think. She didn't hear the footsteps until it was too late. The cellar door slammed shut above her. Anna scrambled to the passage, flashlight beam bouncing wildly. Locked. She pounded on the door. Nothing. Panic surged. The air down here felt thinner now, the walls closer. She tried her phone. No signal. Someone had trapped her. And there was only one reason to lock her in. They knew she had found something. Hours passed. Or minutes, it was hard to tell. Anna sat back against the cold stone wall, clutching the journal. Think. Anna. Her grandfather hadn't just hidden this room. He had prepared it. In the faint light, she noticed the pedestal was hollow underneath. She crawled forward, pried at the base, and found a thin, iron latch. A trapdoor. She pulled it open. Below, a ladder led further down into darkness. Anna hesitated only a second. Then she climbed. The tunnel was damp, rough-hewn into the earth itself, and smelled of old clay. She crept forward, legs aching. Finally, a faint glimmer of daylight. She crawled toward it and found herself emerging in the far end of the overgrown Miller family cemetery, behind the property. She was free. But as she stood up, brushing dirt off her jeans, she spotted a figure near the house. Margaret. Standing at the study window, watching. And smiling. She needed a plan. Instead, she called the one person she still trusted, her childhood friend, Ben Taylor, now a lawyer in Savannah. They met at a rundown diner off River Street. Ben slid into the booth opposite her, glancing around warily. "You look like hell," he said. "Feels worse," Anna muttered. She pulled the journal from her bag, sliding it across the table. Ben opened it, flipping through the pages. His brow furrowed. This is bad, Anna. If half of this is true, it's all true." Ben leaned back, whistling low. "Why now? Why leave it all to you?" Anna hesitated. "I think he knew they'd try to bury it. I think he knew I'd dig it up." Ben tapped the page with the circled line. "The heir is not who you think." "You know what this means, right?" he said. Anna nodded grimly. "The person everyone expects to inherit, Margaret, maybe even Ethan, isn't the rightful heir. There's someone else." Ben leaned in. "And you think you know who?" "I think it's me," Anna whispered. Ben closed the journal. "Listen, this is dynamite. But you need proof. The real will. I'm working on it. You won't get another shot at this. Be careful." Anna nodded, slipping the journal back into her bag. She glanced toward the door. Across the street, a black sedan idled. Tinted windows. Watching. waiting. That night, Anna snuck back into the Miller estate under the cover of darkness. She needed to find the ledger her grandfather mentioned. The house was quiet, but she moved carefully, avoiding the creaky floorboards. The study door was ajar. Inside, the fireplace crackled, and someone was already there. Ethan. Sipping whiskey, staring into the flames. He didn't look up. "I wondered when you'd come back," he said. Anna froze. "You should be careful," Ethan continued, voice low. "You're poking around in things that don't want to be found." "Why are you here?" Anna asked, stepping inside cautiously. Ethan turned, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. "Looking for the same thing you are." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "And trust me, cousin, it's not something you want to find." Anna held her ground, keeping the bag with the journal tight against her side. Ethan's smile was the kind you only wore when you were hiding something sharp behind your teeth. "You should leave, Anna," he said quietly. "This family has a way of cleaning up its own messes." The way he said it made her skin crawl. "I'm not leaving without answers," Anna replied. Ethan shrugged, tossing back the rest of his drink. "You're not the first Miller to think you can change things." He set the empty glass down with a thud. "You won't be the last to regret it." With that, he brushed past her, his cologne thick in the air, a mix of cedarwood and something sour underneath. Anna waited until she heard the front door close before she moved. The house sighed as she crept back through the halls. She needed the ledger. The letter mentioned it, and if it existed, it would tell her everything her grandfather had left unsaid. In the library, she moved to the old grandfather clock. Her grandfather's pride and joy, built into the wall itself, a towering mahogany beast. Anna remembered sitting on his lap as a child, watching the pendulum swing. Tick, tock. She pulled gently at the carved edge, and the panel shifted. A hidden cabinet opened inside the clock. And there it was. A thick, leather-bound ledger, dusty and heavy. She pried it out and flipped through the pages. Not accounts. Not property deeds. But secrets. Bribes paid to judges. Blackmail material collected over decades. Deals that explained why the Miller family never fell. They owned too many people. Anna's hands trembled as she read. Suddenly, the hair on the back of her neck stood up. A creak. She turned, but the room was empty. Still, she could feel it. Someone was watching. She stuffed the ledger into her bag and slipped out of the library, moving fast and low. The back door was just ahead when she heard it, the unmistakable snap of a branch in the garden. Outside, the air was thick with mist. The estate grounds stretched out, a sea of black trees and uncut grass. Anna moved quickly, slipping into the maze-like garden her grandmother had once tended. The hedges were overgrown now, wild and tangled, but she remembered the paths. As she rounded a corner, she saw him. A figure standing in the mist, unmoving, watching. Ethan. No. This man was older. Broader. Ben. She couldn't tell. But whoever it was, they didn't move. Anna crouched low, her heart pounding. She backed away slowly, and stepped on a twig. The sound cracked through the silence. The figure shifted, and came toward her. Anna ran, twisting through the hedges, heart hammering against her ribs. The bag with the journal and ledger slammed against her side. Branches clawed at her arms. She didn't look back. She burst out of the maze into the open field behind the estate, sprinting for the tree line. A hand caught her wrist. She screamed, but the grip loosened. Ben. Anna, he hissed. It's me. She yanked free, gasping. What are you doing here? I followed you, Ben said. You were right. Someone's been tailing you since the diner. Anna didn't argue. We have to get out of here, she said. Together, they disappeared into the trees. Behind them, the figure stepped out of the mist and watched them go. Inside, Anna slammed the door and locked it. Ben peeled away, headlights cutting through the darkness. You found it, he asked. Anna nodded, pulling the ledger from her bag. Ben glanced over, his knuckles white on the wheel. You realize what this is? I know, Anna said. It's not just family secrets. It's leverage. She flipped to the last few pages, a section marked in her grandfather's cramped handwriting. Contingency plans. At the top of the page. In the event of my death, trust no one. Especially Margaret. Anna's stomach twisted. Back at Ben's apartment, a shabby third-floor walk-up above an antique shop, they spread the contents of the bag out on the kitchen table. The journal. The ledger. The letter. Ben poured them both stiff drinks, but Anna barely sipped hers. They read in silence. Name after name. Date after date. The Miller fortune wasn't built on hard work and clever investments. It was built on lies. On blood. You have to go public, Ben said finally. Expose them. Anna shook her head. Not yet. I need the real will. Ben frowned. Are you sure it even exists? Anna opened her bag and pulled out the folded floor plan she had found tucked in the ledger. It was a map of the Miller estate, but with one room marked that didn't exist on any official blueprint. A vault. Hidden beneath the east wing. Ben leaned closer. If the will is anywhere, it's there. Anna nodded. But not tonight, she said. They're watching. Ben agreed. They'd wait. Plan. Strike when no one expected. It was just after 2 a.m. when Anna's phone buzzed. A text. No number. You're too late. Then, an attachment. A photo. The Miller study. The desk overturned. Papers scattered. And in the center, the journal, torn to shreds. Anna's blood ran cold. Someone's in the house, she whispered. Ben grabbed his keys. We have to move. They raced to the estate, tires screaming against asphalt. But when they arrived, the house was dark. Silent. Ben stayed by the car as Anna slipped around to the back entrance. She moved carefully, every nerve on high alert. Inside, the study was just as the photo showed. Wrecked. But the journal, the real journal, was still safe in her bag. The one destroyed was a decoy. Her grandfather had thought of everything. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. Anna ducked behind the desk. The door creaked open, and Margaret stepped inside. Her face was calm, cold, as she surveyed the damage. She bent down and picked up a torn scrap of paper, her mouth twisting in distaste. I warned you, James, she muttered. Secrets never stay buried. She turned and left. Anna waited until the house was silent again before she slipped back to Ben's car. Her hands were still shaking when she slid into the passenger seat. Ben glanced over. Well, Anna stared out at the darkened house. They know. Chapter 6. Blood runs colder than water. The sun rose slow and heavy the next morning, casting long shadows across the Miller estate. But the house itself remained dark, as if it sensed the storm brewing inside its walls. Anna sat at Ben's kitchen table, exhausted but wide awake, the ledger open in front of her. Names. Numbers. Crimes. And somewhere within all these ink-stained pages, the truth about her family. Ben stood by the window, peeking through the blinds. We can't wait much longer, he said. Margaret's making moves. If she finds that vault before we do. She won't, Anna said. Ben glanced back. You sure about that? Anna wasn't. But she nodded anyway. By noon, they were back at the estate, this time armed with a plan. The house was deserted, or so it seemed. Margaret's car was gone. Ethan's too. Anna moved quickly, leading Ben through the narrow servants' halls to the east wing. They found the old pantry door, exactly where the floor plan said it would be. Behind a false wall, hidden under layers of ancient wallpaper, was a narrow metal door. A vault. Anna's heart pounded. Ben knelt, examining the lock. Combination, he muttered. Anna pulled the journal from her bag, flipping to the last few pages. Her grandfather's handwriting was cramped, frantic, as if he'd written these words in a hurry. Scrawled in the margin. Eliza's birthday. Her grandmother. Anna's mind raced. She remembered the date from old family parties. March 17th, 1947. She punched the numbers into the lock. A heavy click echoed through the empty hall. The vault door swung open. Inside was not what Anna expected. No piles of cash. No gold bars. Just a single metal box, sealed tight. Ben lifted it carefully and set it on the floor. Anna knelt, heart hammering, and flipped the latch. Inside, documents. Stacks of them. And right on top, a will. Dated 2 weeks before her grandfather's death. Anna's hands shook as she lifted it. It was notarized. Witnessed. Perfectly legal. And the name listed as sole heir? Anna Miller. Ben let out a low whistle. "You're it," he said. "They have nothing if you have this." Anna nodded, barely breathing. She flipped through the rest of the documents. Property deeds. Business shares. Accounts hidden overseas. Everything. She glanced at Ben. "I have to go public." Ben nodded. "I'll call a contact. Someone who can guarantee this gets out clean." Anna carefully tucked the will and documents back into the box. But as she closed the lid, she noticed something else at the bottom. A photo. Old. Faded. 2 boys, standing in front of the Miller estate. One she recognized immediately, her grandfather. The other, Ethan. As a child. But written on the back, in her grandfather's scrawl. "Ethan, not mine." Anna stared at the words. Ben leaned over her shoulder, frowning. "What does that mean?" Anna's mind spun. Ethan wasn't her grandfather's son. He wasn't a Miller by blood. And if that was true, Margaret had lied about everything. Ben muttered, "That's why she's fighting so hard. If this gets out, they lose it all," Anna finished. She closed the box, heart racing. "Let's move." As they stepped into the hall, the front door slammed open. Margaret, Ethan behind her, and 2 men Anna didn't recognize, broad-shouldered, hard-eyed. Security. Margaret smiled, but it was a predator's smile. "You've been busy, Anna," she said. Ben stepped in front of Anna instinctively. Margaret's gaze flickered to him, amused. "You really think you can protect her?" she asked. Anna tightened her grip on the box. "I have the will." Margaret chuckled. "Oh, I know, dear. But possession isn't everything." She nodded once, and the security men moved forward. Ben braced. But Anna didn't flinch. Instead, she stepped forward. "Touch me," she said quietly, "and I swear to God, every file, every document, every photo will hit the news by morning." Margaret's eyes narrowed. "You're bluffing." Anna smiled thinly. "Try me." For a long moment, the only sound was the wind rattling the old windows. Then Margaret stepped back, waving her men off. "You won't win," she said, voice low and vicious. "You're young. You're idealistic. You think the truth matters." Anna met her gaze evenly. "It does," she said. "And by tomorrow, so will everyone else." Margaret's smile faded. Without another word, she turned and stalked out of the house, Ethan trailing behind her, face pale and furious. Anna exhaled shakily. Ben touched her arm. "Let's get this to the right hands," he said. Anna nodded. And together, they left the house behind. The story had exploded. Headlines screamed betrayal, embezzlement, fraud. Margaret and Ethan were at the center of it all. But it was Anna who sat at the witness stand now, the box of documents beside her, the weight of generations on her shoulders. The prosecution presented everything. The ledgers. The photos. The will. The evidence was overwhelming. Margaret and Ethan's lawyers fought hard, tried to discredit her, tried to paint her as an ungrateful granddaughter, a fame-hungry liar. But Anna held steady. When it was her turn to speak, she told the truth. Plain. Unvarnished. About the lies. The betrayals. The blood that wasn't really blood. And the inheritance built not on love, but manipulation. In the end, the jury didn't take long. Guilty. On all counts. Margaret was sentenced to 15 years for fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction. Ethan, 10 years, with more charges still pending. The Miller fortune was dismantled, piece by piece, to pay restitution. And Anna walked out of the courthouse not just free, but vindicated. Anna stood on the crumbling front steps a month later, looking up at the decaying facade. Vines crept over the brickwork, and the garden, once trimmed to military precision, had gone wild, nature reclaiming what was once stolen. She had the keys now. Not just to the house, but to everything the Miller name once commanded. But power felt heavier than she had ever imagined. Inside, the house smelled of dust and memory. Anna moved slowly through the halls, trailing her hand along the wooden banister, worn smooth by 1,000 palms before her. In the study, sunlight cut through the broken blinds, casting stripes across the old desk where she had once sat on her grandfather's lap, listening to his stories. Only now did she realize how carefully those stories were crafted. How much was left unsaid. Ben arrived half an hour later, carrying 2 coffees and a stack of mail. "You ready for this?" he asked, handing her a cup. Anna stared at the mountain of unopened envelopes, the crumbling ledgers, the ghosts of a family name now buried under scandal. "I don't know," she admitted. Ben smiled softly. "Good. Means you'll do it right." They spent the afternoon combing through the remains. Bank accounts to close. Properties to liquidate. Charities to fund from the restitution settlement. But in the bottom drawer of her grandfather's old desk, Anna found something she hadn't expected, a box of letters, bundled and tied with twine. Not business documents. Not secrets. Letters. Love letters. From her grandfather to Eliza, Anna's grandmother. Anna sat on the dusty floor and read them one by one. They spoke of dreams. Of regret. Of a wish to leave the Miller legacy behind and build something honest. It never happened. But the words lingered. A reminder. A promise he never kept, but that she could. That night, Anna and Ben sat on the back porch, overlooking the wild garden. The air smelled of rain and roses. "What will you do now?" Ben asked. Anna sipped her wine and smiled. "I'm going to burn it down." Ben raised an eyebrow. "Metaphorically." She chuckled. "Mostly." She explained, the estate would be sold. The money would be used to build a scholarship fund, for kids like her, born into lies they didn't choose. The Miller name would not be erased, but redefined. Truth over legacy. Hope over blood. Real family over names carved in stone. Ben smiled. "Sounds like the right kind of revolution." Anna raised her glass. "To the ashes," she said. "To what rises from them," Ben replied. They clinked glasses, and the night settled around them, not heavy like before, but light. Hopeful. No media circus. No reporters. Just Anna and a few trusted officials, signing papers that cut the final ties between her and the Miller dynasty. But before she left for good, there was one last thing she needed to do. The next morning, she drove alone to the family plot at Willow Creek Cemetery. The groundskeeper nodded silently as she passed. He had been there for decades, and the scandal didn't interest him. Anna found her grandfather's grave easily. The marble was cracked, the name still sharp against the weather-worn stone. Jameson Miller. Below it, the simple epitaph. Built to last. She knelt, setting a single white lily at the base. "I know you tried," she whispered. "But wanting isn't the same as doing." She sat there for a long time, letting the wind tug at her hair, the cold creep into her bones. "I forgive you," she said finally. "But I'm not carrying this forward." She stood, took one last look, and walked away. A year later, Anna stood in front of a modest brick building in downtown Charleston. The Miller Foundation. New name. New mission. No velvet ropes. No gold-plated gates. Just a simple, honest place, for kids without connections, without family, without the weight of a name like Miller dragging behind them. Ben stepped up beside her, holding a set of keys. "Opening day," he said. Anna smiled. "You think anyone will come?" Ben shrugged. "Maybe. Maybe not. Doesn't matter." Anna nodded. Because she knew what really mattered wasn't the crowd, or the attention, or the redemption arc the world loved to see. It was the work. It was showing up. It was breaking the chain that bound her family for generations. Inside, she unlocked the doors. Sunlight streamed in, warm and new. Anna stepped into the future she had built, not on blood, but on truth. On ashes. And as the first child stepped through the door, a shy boy with a backpack too big for his shoulders, Anna smiled. Not for the cameras. Not for the name. But for herself. For what she saved. For what she finally became. Thank you for watching this powerful story. If it touched you, Please like, comment, and share. Watch many more stories like this on our channel, Real Story Twist. We appreciate every view, every voice, and every heart that listens. Subscribe and join our community, where every story has a deeper truth.